Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. I have combined all the videos in our responsive pricing table tutorial series into this single video so that it'll be easier for you to follow. And in this video, we are basically designing this pricing table from scratch using HTML and CSS. And this is also responsive, so if I right click over here and go to inspect, and if I click on this button called toggle device toolbar, and let's select a device from here, let's select Pixel 2 XL, and this is how it will look on a mobile device. So this pricing table is completely responsive. And then in the end, I will also show you how to add this pricing table to your Blogger website. And I will also leave the link of the source code in the description of this video. So let's get started. Right here, I have created this folder called responsive pricing table, and I opened it with VS Code. And I also have a folder called images over here, and in that we have this icon. So it is this icon over here. Alright, so let's start by creating the necessary files. So let's create an HTML file. So let's click on new file, and I'll just name it index.html. And let's create another file, and I'll just name it style.css. And let's start with the index.html file. Now in VS Code you have this shortcut where you can just press exclamation and press tab, and you will have this basic HTML5 code. Alright, now let's link our CSS file over here. So I'll just tap link and press tab, and here in the href I'll just tap style.css. Now for this design we're going to use a font called Railway. So let's get the link of the font. Alright, here I'm in fonts.google.com, and let's search for Railway, and let's click on this font. And we need to have 3 styles of this font. So here we can see this is the first style, and then we want to have this regular style, and there's one more style over here for semi-bold. So let's go back and let's select the regular version, and let's scroll down, and let's also select the bold 700, and we'll also select black 900. Right now let's click on this icon to view selected families, and let's copy this link from here, and let's go back to our HTML, and I'll just paste it over here in the head section. Right now let's start with the HTML of our design. Now let's create a division to contain everything, and we'll give it a class of pricing table container. So I'll just tap dot pricing table container and press tab, and in that for each of these tables we will create a division with the class of table. So let's create a division with the class of table. Now the first thing we need to have in this table is this heading. So let's copy this, and let's go back over here and let's create an h2, and I'll just paste the heading over here, and then we will have a paragraph, and in that we will have this text over here. So I'll just copy this from here, and I'll just paste it over here, and then we need to have this price. Now I'm just going to copy this price from here, and we will add this $sign using CSS. So here I'll just create a division with the class of price, and in that we will add the price. Right now let's open this in our browser and let's see how it looks. So I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So you can go ahead and install this, and once you do that, you can just right click over here in the HTML and click on Open with Live Server. And now here we can see the design is displayed over here in the browser. Alright, let's continue writing the HTML. So the next thing we need to add are these features. So let's go back over here and let's create a division with the class of features, and in that we'll create a UL. Now in this UL or unordered list we will add some list items. So let's tap li, and in that we will add the first feature over here. I'll just copy this and paste it over here, and let's duplicate this 2 more times. And then for the next feature I'll just copy this from here and paste it right here. And then lastly we have this feature over here. So I'll just copy this and I'll just paste it over here. And then the last thing we need to have is this button called choose plan. So I'll just go outside the UL and I'll just create an anchor tag, and for the href I'll just tap hash for now, and we'll also create a class called btn so that we can style it later in the CSS. And here I'll just tap choose plan, and now here you can see we have all these elements over here. Alright, now let's write the HTML of these 2 remaining tables over here. So I'll just copy this table from here, and let's paste it down here. I'll just paste it 2 more times. Now for the second table we need to have a different styling. So for that we need to add a unique class. So let's go back over here and for the second table, let's also add a class called best value. And then for the plan, we will type premium. So I'll just copy this and paste it over here. And I'll just copy this text from here and I'll just paste it over here. And then for the pricing, we have $49.99. And we'll just change the features over here. We have 100, 10, and phone support. Alright, now for this best value plan, we also have this tag over here called best value. So for that, we also need to add the image. So let's go back and here inside this division, we will create a division with a class of tag icon. And in that, we will have the SVG. So let's go back to our file manager and let's go to images. And let's click on this SVG file. And I'll just copy all this code from here. And let's go back to our HTML and I'll just paste it over here inside the tag icon. And we also need to have the text best value written over here. So for that, before the SVG, I'll just create a span and we'll give the class of tag text, and here I'll just type best value. Alright, that's it with the best value table. Alright, now let's scroll down and we have this last table over here, and let's update the values. So I'll just copy this professional and paste it over here. And I'll just copy this text and paste it over here inside this paragraph. And then for the price, we have $99.99. And I'll just change these features over here. And that's basically it with the HTML of our design. So let's open the browser and let's see how it looks. So here we can see all the elements are displayed over here, and we also have this image. So everything looks alright. Alright, this is our HTML and we have already linked our CSS file over here. So let's go to our style.css file and let's start styling this page. Now here we can see in our HTML we have this division with a class of pricing table container, and in that we have all these tables. So let's go to our style.css file and let's type dot pricing table container. And let's set the font family to Railway and sans serif. And if you go back to our design, we can see that all these tables are one below the other. Now we want them to be one next to the other. So for that, we have to type display of flex. And now we can see that all these tables are one next to the other. Alright, now let's bring everything to the center. So let's go back and here we'll just type justify content and center. Now we will also add some margin to the top and to the bottom. So here I'll just type margin. And for top and bottom, I'll just type 30 pixels and 0 for left and right. And now the next thing we need to do is all these tables are aligned to the top. So if you go back to our original design, we can see that all these tables are aligned to the bottom. So let's do that. So for that, you have to type align items and set it to flex end. And now we can see that all the tables are aligned to the bottom. Alright, now let's start with the styling of the tables inside the pricing table container. So if you go back to our HTML, we can see that we have this division with the class of table. So let's style that. So here I'll just type pricing table container table, and we'll set the width to 300 pixels, and we will set a background color of E2F7FF. And let's also add rounded corners. So I'll just type border radius and we'll just set it to 24 pixels. And now we can see we have rounded corners. And let's also add some padding. So I'll just type padding, and for top we will add a padding of 16 pixels and 0 for right, and 8 pixels for the bottom and 0 for left. Now let's add some margin between these elements. So let's type margin and 0 for top and bottom and 16 pixels for left and right. And now let's add a box shadow. So let's type box shadow and we will set the values to 0, 10 pixels, 25 pixels, negative 3 pixels, and RGBA 0, 0, 0 and 0.2. Alright, now let's style this heading. So let's type pricing table container H2, because if you go back to our HTML, we can see that we have created this H2 for the heading. So let's set a font size of 32 pixels and we'll set the font weight to 900, and let's set the color of the text to 204959. And let's also add a padding of 0 for top and bottom and 32 pixels for left and right. Alright, now let's style this paragraph. So if you go back to our HTML, we can see that we have this paragraph over here after the heading. So let's style that. So here I'll just type pricing table container P, and we'll set the font size to 15 pixels, and we will set the color of the text to 001219, and let's set a padding of 0 for top and bottom and 32 pixels for left and right. Now let's increase the line height of this paragraph. So here I'll just type line height and we will set it to 2, and we'll also remove the default margin. So I'll just type margin and set it to 0. Alright, now the next thing we will style is this price. So if you go back to our HTML, we have this division with the class of price. So let's target that. So here just type pricing table container price, and let's set the font size to 70 pixels, and let's set the font weight to 900, and we'll also add a padding of 32 pixels, and let's remove the top padding. So I'll just type padding top of 0. Now let's set the color of the text to the dark color over here, 001219. Now the next thing we need to do is add a dollar symbol over here before the price. So here we can see in our design we have this dollar symbol over here. So for that we will use a before selector. So here I'll just type pricing table container price colon before, and for the content I'll just type dollar symbol, and we'll set the font size to 32 pixels. And let's go back, and here we can see we have this dollar symbol before every price. Now the next thing we will style is this features division over here. So let's go back, and if you go back to our HTML, we can see we have this division with the class of features, and in that we have this unordered list. So let's style that. So here I'll just type pricing table container features, and let's set a background color of 7DD0FF, and let's add a border radius of 24 pixels. Alright, now let's style the UL inside the features. So here let's type pricing table container features UL, and let's add a padding of 24 pixels top and bottom and 0 for left and right. And let's also remove these bullets from here. So for that let's type list style and we'll set it to none. Now let's remove this bottom padding from here. So I'll just type padding bottom and set it to 0. Alright, now let's style the list items inside the UL. So here let's type pricing table container features UL li, and let's set a margin of 8 pixels top and bottom and 0 for left and right. And we'll also set the font size to 18 pixels, and let's also set the font weight to 700. Alright, now let's add some padding. So here I'll just type padding of 16 pixels top and bottom and 32 pixels left and right. Now let's set the color of the text to the dark color. So let's type color and we'll just set it to 001219. Alright, now when we hover over this, we need to have a different background color. So if you go back to our original design, we can see that when we hover over this, we have this background color, and we also have this border left over here when we hover over this. So let's do that. So let's go back, and here I'll just type pricing table container features UL li colon hover, and let's set a background color of ABE4EF. And now if you hover over this, we have this background color. And let's also add smooth transition. So let's go back, and here I'll just type transition and set it to all 500 milliseconds ease. And now we can see we have this smooth transition. Now let's also add this border left over here. So let's go back over here, and we will add a before element for that. So let's type pricing table features UL li colon before, and now we need to set this before element relative to this li. So here in the li I'll just type position and set it to relative, and here we can type position and set it to absolute. And now we can position this before element relative to this li. So for the content let's type blank, And now let's set the left and the top positions. So here I'll just tap left and I'll just set it to 8 pixels and top to 0 pixels. And we'll set the height to 100% and we'll set the width to 4 pixels. Now let's add a background color and we'll set it to this dark color over here. And now we can see we have this before element over here. Now we will display this only when we hover over these elements. So let's go back. And here I'll just type opacity and set it to 0. And here I'll just type pricing table container features ul li colon hover colon before. And here I'll just type opacity and set it to 1. And we'll also add a transition for smooth animation. I'll just set it to all 500 milliseconds ease. And let's go back. And now if we hover over this, we can see that everything works alright. Alright, now the next thing we will do is we will add this border left over here for these features. So let's go back and let's go to the features. And here we will add a before element. So I'll just type pricing table container features colon before. We will position this before element relative to the features. So here I'll just type position and I'll just set it to relative. And now here we'll just type content and we'll set it to blank. And let's set the position to absolute. And we'll set the top position to 50% and the left position to 0. And let's set the width to 8 pixels and we'll set the height to 90%. And let's also add a background color. So let's tap background and we'll just set it to this color right here. Alright, now we can see it starts from the center. So for that we have to type transform translate y and set it to negative 50%. And now we can see everything looks alright. We'll also add a border radius and we'll also set the z index to some higher value so that it will be above the other elements. So let's type border radius and set it to 24 pixels, and we'll also set the z index to, let's say, 200. And this is how it looks. Right now let's style this button. So let's go back to our HTML and here we can see we have a class of btn for the button. So let's target that. So here I'll just type pricing table container btn, and for the button we will set a background color of 001219. Now this button is an anchor tag. So anchor tags are basically inline elements by default. So we can have problems in margin and padding. So let's set the display to inline block. And let's set the padding to 12 pixels top and bottom and 32 pixels left and right. And let's set the color of the text to white. And let's also remove the underlines by typing text decoration to none. And let's also set the font weight to 700. And let's set a margin of 0 for top and bottom and 32 pixels for left and right. And let's also add rounded corners. So I'll just type border radius and set it to 24 pixels. Now let's set a margin bottom. So let's type margin bottom of 24 pixels. Right now let's add a hover effect. So let's go back and here let's type pricing table container btn colon hover, and let's change the background color to 022E3F, and we'll also add smooth transition. So I'll just type transition and set it to all 500 milliseconds ease. And now we can see we have this hover effect for this button. Right now when we hover over these tables, we need to increase the size a little bit. So let's go back and here for the table we will add a hover effect. So I'll just type pricing table container table colon hover, and let's set the transform scale to 1.02, and let's also add smooth transition. So I'll just type transition and we'll set it to all 500 milliseconds ease. And let's go back and here we can see when we hover over this we have this hover effect. And now we can see both the basic and the professional tables are looking alright, but we need to make some changes to this table right here in the middle. So let's do that. If you go back to our original design, we can see that for this we have a dark background color. So let's go back to our CSS, and if you go back to our HTML, we can see that for the second table we have this class of best value. So let's target this. Let's go back to our style.css file, and here I'll just type pricing table container, and here we'll just type table dot best value. And now let's add a background color of 091418. Right now we need to change the color of the text of all these elements over here. We need to change the color of the heading, the paragraph, and the price. So let's go back, and here let's type pricing table container table dot best value h2, and let's type pricing table container table best value p for the paragraph, and pricing table container table best value and price, and let's set the color to white. Right now it looks pretty much alright. Now the last thing we need to do is style this image and the best value text over here. So let's do that. Now we need to position this image relative to this table. So for that we need to add a position of relative over here in the table best value. So let's type position and set it to relative. And now let's style this image. So if you go back to our index.html file, we can see we have this division with the class of tag icon. So let's target that. Here I'll just type pricing table container table best value tag icon, and let's set the position to absolute, and we'll set the top position to negative 22 pixels, and we'll set the right position to 22 pixels. And now we can see that the image is positioned correctly. Now let's also position this best value text over here. So for that let's go back, and let's type pricing table container table best value, and for the text we have this division with the class of tag text. So let's target that. Let's type tag text, and let's set the position to absolute, and we'll set the left position to 19 pixels, and we'll set the top position to 22 pixels, and we'll set the color of the text to white, and we'll also set the font weight to 700. And now we can see that it is positioned correctly. Now let's go back to our original design, and we have to change the color of this heading. So let's go back, and I'll just remove this line of code from here for the h2, and I'll just add it down here. And for the h2 we will have a different color. So let's type color, and we'll set the color to 7dd0ff. So that's basically it with the CSS of our pricing table. Alright, this is our progress as of now. Right now let's go ahead and add a media query. So I'll just tap add media, and we will set a max width of 1000 pixels. So now when the browser window is less than 1000 pixels, all the CSS that we have inside this block will be added to the page. Right now the first thing we need to do is we need to set all these tables one below the other. So let's target the container division. So if you go back to our HTML, we can see we have this division with the class of pricing table container, and in that we have all the tables. So if you go back to our style.css, and if you scroll up, here we can see we have this pricing table container. So let's copy this, and let's scroll down, and let's paste it over here. And here you have to type flex direction and set it to column. And now we can see all these tables are one below the other. Now let's bring everything to the center. So I'll just type align items to the center. And let's also have some gap between these tables. So here we'll just type gap, and we'll set the gap to 42 pixels. And now we can see we have this gap between these tables. Right now let's style the table. So let's type pricing table container and table. And if you scroll up, we can see that for the table we have set a width of 300 pixels. So let's scroll down, and here we will set the width to 90% of the screen size. And now if you increase the width over here, we can see that it increases the width of the table, and it sets the width to 90%. But we will set a limit to the maximum width. So here I'll just type max width, and we'll set the max width to 500 pixels. And now even if you increase the width, we can see that the max width will be 500 pixels. Alright, now let's style this heading. So let's type pricing table container h2, and we will set a margin bottom of 8 pixels, and we'll also set a margin top of 8 pixels. And now let's decrease the size of this price. So here let's type pricing table container price, and we'll set the font size to 50 pixels. And right now we have a lot of padding to the top and the bottom, so I'll just type padding, and for top and bottom I'll set the padding to 12 pixels, and for left and right we will set the padding to 32 pixels. And now it looks pretty much alright. We'll also add some styling to these list items. So let's type pricing table container and features ULLI, because if you go back to the index.html file, we can see that we have this division with the class of features, and in that we have the UL, and in that we have the list items. Alright, now for the list items I'll just set a margin of 0, and we'll also decrease the font size and we'll set it to 16 pixels. And I think that looks alright for a mobile device. So this is how it looks for a mobile version, and if I go back to the desktop version, this is how it looks. Let's also check how it looks on different devices. So let's right click over here and click on inspect, and you can click on this button called toggle device toolbar, and now we can select different devices over here and we can see how it looks over here. So this is how it will look on a Moto G4, and let's select another device. Let's select iPhone 10, and this is how it will look on an iPhone 10. Alright, so that's basically it with the responsive version of our pricing table. Right here I'm in my Blogger dashboard, and let's click on view blog, and this is how our website looks. And if you go back to our dashboard and if you click on theme, you can see that I'm using this theme called Contempo Lite, and it comes by default with Blogger. Alright, now let's add this pricing table to one of the posts in our Blogger website. So let's click on new post, and for the title I'll just type pricing of our product. And now you can go ahead and add your own content over here. You can go ahead and add images or whatever you want over here. And then whenever you need to add this pricing table, you have to go over here to this button and click on HTML view, and here you can add your HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So let's go to the source code of our design. Alright, this is the source code, and here you can go ahead and change all this content over here. You can change the name, the paragraph, the price, and all of these over here. You can even add new features by just copy and pasting this list item, and you can also remove features from here. So in this way you have 3 plans over here. So let's copy this HTML and let's paste it in our Blogger post. So I just copy from here till the end, till here. So let's copy this and let's go back, and I'll just paste it over here. And now let's add the CSS. So let's go over here and let's create a style tag. And here in the style tag we will add the CSS. So let's go back to the source code, and you can find the link of this source code in the description. Alright, let's go over here to style.css and let's copy all the CSS. So I'll just select all and copy and paste it over here inside the style tag. Alright, now let's click on publish and confirm, and let's see whether everything works alright. So let's click on this view button, and here we can see our pricing table is being displayed, but we have some problems in the styling. First of all, let's check whether the mobile version is working alright. So let's decrease the width of the browser window, and the mobile version is working alright. We don't have any problems. So the problem is with the desktop version. Now the problem is with the max width inside our media queries. So if you go back to our CSS and if you scroll down, here we can see we have set a max width of 1000 pixels, and if the width of the browser is less than 1000 pixels, we are adding all this CSS. So if you go back to our original design, now here we can see we have the full width of the browser window for the pricing table, but in our Blogger website we have this outer container, and in that we have this pricing table, so it doesn't have the full width of the browser window. So for that we need to make some changes in our CSS. So let's right click over here and click on inspect, and let's make some changes. The first thing we will do is we will decrease the margin between these pricing tables. So I'll just scroll up and I'll just maximize this, and let's select the table, and here we can see these are the styles for the table, and let's decrease the margin a little bit. So here we can see we have a margin of 0 for top and bottom and 16 pixels for left and right. So let's decrease this a little bit, and let's set it to, I think, 6 pixels, or let's set it to 8 pixels. And now we need to change the font size of these headings. So let's go inside the table, and first of all let's add these changes to our Blogger post. So let's go over here to posts and let's click on this post, And let's go to the CSS, and here in the table we need to change this to 8 pixels. So let's change this, and let's go back, and the next thing we need to do is change the font size of this heading. So let's select the heading, and let's decrease the font size a little bit. So I think 26 pixels looks alright. So let's go back to the post, and let's go to the heading, and here instead of 32 we will set it to 26 pixels. And let's go back to our post, and we also have to change the font size of this price. So let's select the price, and let's change the font size a little bit, and I think 56 pixels looks alright. And we'll also remove this padding top 0 from here so that we have the padding at the top. Alright, so let's make these changes to our price. So we have the font size set to 56 pixels and the padding to 32. So let's go back, and here in the price let's change this to 56 pixels, and we'll just remove this padding top 0 from here, and let's go back. And the next thing we will do is we will decrease the font size of these features. So let's go into features, and let's go to the list item, and here we have set the font size to 18 pixels. Let's decrease it, and I think 16 pixels looks alright. So let's change the font size of this list item to 16 pixels. Let's go back, and let's find the li, and here we'll just change this to 16 pixels. And now this looks alright. So let's go back, and let's click on update, and let's go back to our post, and let's refresh this page. And now we can see we don't have any problems. It looks alright. Let's view the mobile version, and here we can see that the mobile version also looks alright. So that's basically how you add a responsive pricing table to your Blogger website. Now whenever you add custom code to your Blogger website, you have to make changes depending on the theme that you're using. So for our theme, we had to make those changes to our CSS. You can go ahead and just right click and click on inspect, and just play around with some CSS values over here, and you'll be able to fix your problems. So that's basically it for this video. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.